Today is UN Day 2022, and we'll be having a conversation via Zoom with Charles Abani, who is the resident coordinator, United Nations Ghana. Hello, Charles. Good morning, if you can hear me.
Good morning. Yes, I can hear you. Happy morning to you too.
It's good to have you. Today is UN Day 2022, and first off, let me ask you, how would you say Ghana has fared during the relationship Ghana has had with the UN for 7 decades now?
Of course, Ghana has been a proud member of the United Nations from the very moment it joined, and I think an avid supporter of multilateralism through various different means. So Ghana has fared very well in its relationships with the United Nations, and as we all know, is currently sitting on the Security Council of the United Nations. So the tale of the tape is a positive one, and we hope it continues to deepen.
Okay. On a day like this, the organization is devoted to making people know the aims and the achievements that the organization have had over the years. Tell us some of the aims that the UN has, and what are some of the achievements they've had over the years?
So, of course, the United Nations was born out of strife and conflict in the Second World War. To build peace, unity, and development, and strengthen the multilateral collaboration that is required to live in the world. And we know that today, more than ever, with some of the challenges that the world faces, growing number of conflicts across the globe, the impacts of climate change, some of the real challenges that the world faces, that multilateralism is the way to go, that working with countries in concert to come up with joint solutions, very difficult problems, that this is the key to making progress. And so this is what really the United Nations stands for, if you like, the Committee of Nations and those agreements. I think that in order to really assess what the UN has achieved so far, we need to look no further than Ghana's own contribution, for example, in the area of peacekeeping. Ghana has contributed extensively to peacekeeping efforts across the globe and stands as the 10th largest supplier of peacekeepers in the globe, and in fact stands at number 1 in terms of the contributions it's made to bringing women to the peacekeeping area. Of course, too, the United Nations is working on critical issues like climate change. Ghana will participate in COP27 shortly in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, where discussions will continue on how to address the big issues of climate change that affect the world. And just recently, if we remember, Ghana was also co-chair of the Transforming Education Summit, where Ghana itself pledged to work on track 2. So I think the United Nations works in key areas of development, in peace and security, and different areas also of supporting economic growth. And this is how we contribute to nations building their own future.
You did mention security. How is Ghana using her position at the UN Security Council?
I think Ghana has been very clear about her position around global conflict. That conflict really means that war needs to be condemned wherever it occurs, and also to push for a greater say for developing countries in the P5 to find new ways to enable the voices of all countries to be heard. And so Ghana is a champion of this particular cause. And also, I think, fighting violent extremism. Ghana's position is very clear on this, and indeed a number of initiatives, for example, the Accra Initiative, has been formulated in order to start to address the question of security in the West Africa sub-region.
Okay, now let's talk about the theme for the day, and it is the 3 S's, and that's solidarity, sustainability, and science towards a more resilient Ghana. Why this particular theme?
Well, I think there are 3 things that are clear there. Solidarity. In a world in which some of the hardest problems that we face require us to work together. For example, we talked about the issue of climate change. We're also facing a lot of crisis globally in the wake of COVID-19, and also in the wake of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Unless we have solidarity and work together, we're unlikely to achieve the outcomes that we need across the continent. And so solidarity is really important in a globe where things are difficult. We know too that we're facing a looming debt crisis in the wake, particularly of COVID-19 and the slow recovery of African countries from the COVID pandemic. So unless we stand together, we won't find solutions to this. In terms of sustainability, it's very clear that unless we find sustainable solutions, we will continue to lurch from crisis to crisis to crisis. And so it's a time for us all to reflect on what are those sustainable solutions. How do we restructure global debt? How do we tackle climate change in a sustainable way? How do we tackle the global issue of migration in a sustainable way? Unless we're able to do this, then we cannot make progress. And I think finally, science. We all know, and COVID-19 taught us the value of science in finding quick solutions to the COVID-19 pandemic. Unless we invest in science together, unless we take all the efforts at country level and globally to pool our knowledge, we will not be able to overcome the crisis that faces. But we do know, because of the successes from COVID-19, that where we do, then of course there is progress.
Okay, this is the chosen theme for Ghana. Is it the same worldwide?
Yes, it is the theme that globally that is being used across the world to really talk to the need for global multilateralism, for countries to come together to address the difficult issues, the triple planetary crisis of biodiversity failure, of climate change, of the environment, to find solutions to global peace and work together, and to find sustainable solutions, not band-aid solutions that as soon as the crisis is over, the fissures reappear, but to look towards sustainability and to look towards science as the way in which we overcome some of the key challenges that face us, whether they be those that we already have or looking to the future where potentially pandemics will still recur. How do we invest in this? And Ghana's own voluntary national review, conducted and completed in July of this year, identified investing in science and research as a really important aspect of building a resilient, self-sufficient nation.
Okay, Charles, then before we end our conversation, let's talk about the day's activity. What are you going to do? How is the day going to start, midday and in the evening? What are the things that you'll be doing at the United Nations Ghana today?
So the celebrations actually started on Saturday with a walk which was co-organized with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There was a health walk in the morning. Today we'll be talking mainly to different media houses, and tomorrow is the big celebration. Okay. As you know, under the leadership of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we traditionally have a flag-raising ceremony which symbolizes the solidarity between Ghana and the United Nations. That will take place. We're also very excited because it will give us an opportunity to sign our new cooperation framework document, which guides the relationship between Ghana and the United Nations between now and 2025, tomorrow, hopefully with the Minister of Finance. And then later in the day, we will hold a reception where we will acknowledge and launch the new cooperation framework. And that framework document talks about three key areas where the United Nations will support Ghana. The first is in economic transformation that is inclusive of all people. The second is universal access to basic services to ensure that no one is left behind. And the third is to support Ghana to ensure durable peace, both in Ghana and in the sub-region.
Okay, thank you very much, Charles. We wish you a successful event today. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so we're talking to Charles Abani, who is the resident coordinator at the United Nations Ghana, telling us more about the UN Day 2022, and it's about the 3 S's. It's about solidarity, sustainability, and science towards a more resilient Ghana. I wish them a successful event. We are going for a quick commercial break. When we come back, there's more.